Heat 1B is next on tap. This is Steve Reynolds in the 7-Eleven. Ron Snyder and the wholesome Miss Madison. The Joe Ritchie Spirit of Detroit with Tom DeEath. Make that the Joe Ritchie Spirit of America. They changed the name. And the 7-Eleven heading out with Steve Reynolds, the second fastest qualifier. Now let's look at the drivers' faces as we go in for another preliminary heat with 4 drivers. Jack Schaefer Jr., the man who qualified just before racing started today. Ron Snyder, one of the best starting drivers around. When it comes to the start, he's always there. Tom DeEath and the Joe Ritchie Spirit of America. And finally, out of Seattle, Steve Reynolds and the Turban Miss 7-Eleven. All 4 boats are running for Heat 1B. As they come down, you can hear the countdown. Jerry Burhill, the crew chief of the 7-Eleven. His driver, Steve Reynolds, on the outside. Ron Snyder on the inside in the wholesome Miss Madison as they go into that first turn. The slight dog leg to the left on this 2-mile course here on the Ohio River. The Evansville Thunder on the Ohio, one of the greatest places in the country to race. And you see Snyder with great position, keeping the 7-Eleven on his outside hip as they go into the turn. Reynolds with a turbine engine. Steve Woomer, the owner of that boat, watching his driver, Steve Reynolds, now coming into the turn. A beautifully handling boat. Very, very good turning boat with the big air scoop on top. That was added in Detroit after discovering the engine needed more air while racing down in Miami. Coming down on lap number 1, the 7-Eleven in the lead, and the speed 124 miles per hour for the 7-Eleven. Good race for second and third. Joe Ritchie Spirit of America in second place, and Snyder on the outside. But the leader right now, the man out of Seattle, Washington, looking for his first victory. Oh, you can hear it. That's a compressor stall of the turbine engine, which means the engine either needs more air, more fuel. Something is wrong. But in the meantime, Reynolds holds on to first place. Jack Schaefer Jr., the man who qualified earlier today, back to the 7-Eleven in the lead in the opposite turn of Schaefer and the Miss Freedoms Festival. This is Reynolds. Again, that scoop was added in Detroit, and they've even cut away more of the fiberglass inside to force more air into that Lycoming engine. Snyder, third place in the wholesome Miss Madison. First place, the 7-Eleven. The boat with brand new sponsons. They've had engine problems in the past, and they are today, it sounds like, even though he is maintaining a pretty good speed of 122 miles per hour. A Merlin piston engine powers the Joe Ritchie Spirit of America, and an Allison turbocharged engine, as you saw in Ron Snyder's wholesome Miss Madison. Coming down the main straightaway again, here on the Ohio, Steve Reynolds. Hear the whine of the propeller. That's the propeller going in and out of the water. You can even hear the water hitting the sponsons because the engine is so quiet. A rough ride, as you saw, for Jack Schaefer Jr. Anytime you're sitting behind the engine back near the transom, it is 3 times as rough as it might be in a cab-over design boat. Now watch Snyder here. Watch his head bouncing back and forth. Can you imagine the rough ride he is going through as he goes into a turn? He doesn't have seat belts either like this man, Steve Reynolds, in a cab-over design and the enclosed cockpit, an F-16 canopy over him, plus a 5-point belt safety system that keeps him into the seat. Steve Reynolds heading down the straightaway for the last time. Second place for this man, Tom DeEath and the Joe Ritchie, but first place goes to Steve Reynolds in the 7-Eleven. 400 points to the turbine boat, and 300 to the Joe Ritchie Spirit of America, Tom DeEath. Third place, Snyder and the wholesome Miss Madison. Here are the results, and we have just gotten word from the tower that the Joe Ritchie was disqualified. So the wholesome Miss Madison gets 300 points and the Freedom Festival 225. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first let's talk to the winner of the heat, Steve Reynolds.
Looks like the boat is running a lot better than last week.
We've still got some minor engine problems. You know, the thing is still compressor stalling a little bit, and I still think that I'm down about 15 miles an hour on the top end, but kind of hard to find fault with the wind, isn't it?
In regards to the disqualification, the Joe Ritchie, the boat on the left inside the circle, was charged for moving from lane 2 into lane number 1, cutting off Jack Schaefer. Right there, you see the boat on the far right going up into the air just a bit. As a result, the Joe Ritchie lost all 300 points in Heat 1B. Let's get official word from Chief Referee Mike Noonan.
The call was made from our helicopter who was watching the lanes coming down for the start. At the dog leg, at the start-finish line buoy, the U2 made a lane change from lane 2 into lane 1. At the dog leg, boat U-15 was on his inside in lane 1 and was chopped with less than 5 boat length overlap.
Okay. That was at the start of the race.
That was at the start of the race. That's correct.
I think it's wrong.
Okay, we've talked to Mike Noonan. What's your opinion of it?
Well, they threw me out. That's all there is to it. And I'll guarantee this is going to be my say la vie to this whole sport. I'm gone. I mean, I've had it with all this crap.
Tom's boat is scheduled for the next heat. We'll see you back in a moment.